Chapter 6, Understanding Our Criminal Justice System. When we see someone violating the law, we immediately think of informing the police. You might have seen either in real life or in the movies, police officers filing reports and arresting persons. Because of the role played by the police in arresting persons, we often get confused and think that it is the police who decide whether a person is guilty or not. This, however, is far from true. After a person is arrested, it is a court of law that decides whether the accused person is guilty or not. According to the Constitution, every individual charged of a crime has to be given a fair trial. Do you know what it means to get a fair trial? Have you heard of an FIR, or do you know who a police prosecutor is? In this chapter, we use a fictional case of theft to try and highlight the process as well as the role of different individuals in the criminal justice system. Most cases go through a process that is similar to the one discussed in our fictional case. Therefore, understanding these processes as well as the role of different persons should play within the criminal justice system is crucial, so that if ever the occasion should arise, you are aware of the processes that should be followed. From the above incident, you can see that the four key players in the criminal justice system are the police, the public prosecutor, the defense lawyer, and the judge. You have seen the roles each of them played in the above case. Now let us try and understand their roles more generally. What is the role of the police in investigating a crime? One important function of the police is to investigate any complaint about the commission of a crime. An investigation includes recording statements of witnesses and collecting different kinds of evidence. On the basis of the investigation, the police are required to form an opinion. In the police think that the evidence points to guilt of the accused person, then they file a charge sheet in the court. As stated at the beginning of this chapter, it is not the job of the police to decide whether a person is guilty or innocent. That is for the judge to decide. You read in Unit 2nd about the rule of law, which means that everyone is subject to the law of the land. This includes the police. Therefore, police investigations always have to be conducted in accordance with law and with full respect for human rights. The Supreme Court has laid down guidelines that the police must follow at the time of arrest, detention, and interrogation. The police are not allowed to torture or beat or shoot anyone during investigation. They cannot inflict any form of punishment on a person even for petty offenses. Article 22 of the Constitution and criminal law guarantee to every arrested person the following fundamental rights: the right to be informed at the time of arrest of the offense for which the person is being arrested, the right to be presented before a magistrate within 24 hours of arrest, the right not to be ill-treated or tortured during arrest or in custody. Confessions made in police custody cannot be used as evidence against the accused. A boy under 15 years of age and woman cannot be called to police station only for questioning. What is the role of the public prosecutor? A criminal offense is regarded as public wrong. What is meant by this is that it is considered to have been committed not only against the affected victim but against society as a whole. Do you remember the case of the dowry death of Sudha that we read about in the previous chapter? The case against the accused Lakshman and his family was presented by the state. That is why the case was called State Delhi Administration versus Lakshman Kumar and others. Similarly, the above case can be called State versus Santi Hembram and not Mr. Sindhe versus Santi Hembram. In court, it is the public prosecutor who represents the interest of the state. The role of the prosecutor begins once the public has conducted the investigation and filed the charge sheet in the court. He or she has no role to play in the investigation. The prosecutor must conduct the prosecution on behalf of the state. As an officer of the court, it is his or her duty to act impartially and present the full and material fact, witnesses, and evidence before the court to enable the court to decide the case. What is the role of the judge? The judge is like an umpire in a game and conducts the trial impartially and in an open court. The judge hears all the witnesses and any other evidence presented by the prosecution and the defense. The judge decides whether the accused person is guilty or innocent on the basis of evidence presented and in accordance with the law. If the accused is convicted, then the judge pronounces the sentence. He may send the person to jail or impose a fine or both, depending on what the law prescribes. What is a fair trial? Let us for a moment imagine what might have happened if the judge decided to try Santi's case very differently. What if the court did not give a copy of the charge sheet and statements of witnesses to Santi? What if he held the trial in a secret location where neither Santi nor Susil were present? What if he did not give Santi's lawyer, Advocate Roy, enough time to question the witnesses of the prosecution, such as Mrs. Sinde, and instead had already decided that Santi was guilty? If this had happened, then it would be a case of an unfair trial. This is because for a trial to be fair, several different procedures have to be observed. Article 21 of the Constitution, that guarantees the right to life, states that a person's life or liberty can be taken away only by following a reasonable and just legal procedure. A fair trial ensures that Article 21 of the Constitution is upheld. Let us now return to Santi's case as described in the storyboard and identify the essential elements of a fair trial. Firstly, Santi was given a copy of the charge sheet and all other evidence that the prosecution presented against her. Santi was charged with the offense of theft that was defined as a crime in the law. The trial was held in an open court in public view. Her brother Susil could attend the court hearings. The trial was held in the presence of the accused. Santi was defended by a lawyer. Santi's lawyer, Advocate Roy, was given an opportunity to cross-examine all the prosecution witnesses. Advocate Roy was given an opportunity to present witnesses in Santi's defense. Although the police filed a case of theft against Santi, the judge assumed her to be innocent. It was the responsibility of the prosecution to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Santi was guilty. In this case, the prosecution failed to do so. It is significant that judge decided the matter only on the basis of the evidence before the court. The judge did not jump to the conclusion that Santi was the thief just because she was a poor maidservant. Instead, the judge remained impartial, and since the evidence showed that some young man and not Santi was the thief, he set Santi free. In Santi's case, justice was finally done to her because she was given a fair trial. The Constitution and the law both state that all of the persons that we have discussed in this chapter should carry out their roles in proper manner. What this means is that they all need to work to ensure that every citizen, irrespective of their class, caste, gender, religious and ideological background, get a fair trial when accused. The rule of law, which says that everyone is equal before the law, would not make much sense if every citizen were not guaranteed a fair trial by the Constitution.